A lot of people have New Year's resolutions. Most people do some spring cleaning, but when is the last time you went through and organized your finances? In today's video, we're going to be looking at 6 simple steps to organize your financing. Now, for a lot of people that are living paycheck to paycheck, that is 58% of Americans, this can be a very tough time due to the accountability aspect that you have to have. When you start organizing your finances, it is going to put you in line to not only develop a plan to move forward, but also have you realize exactly where you're at within the process and making sure that you complete it in its entirety, having that accountability piece. Now, looking at step number 1, finding out exactly where you are. This is important when you start adding up your income, regardless of the source, taking your bucket of all of your income and then seeing exactly what you're owed or what you do owe on all of that debt. Now, this is going to be very important whether you're using a piece of paper, an app, a spreadsheet, anything that you're using, you have to figure out your numbers and you have to track your numbers, knowing exactly where you're at. This is going to be the point you're going to want to make a list. We're going to come up with a couple different methods that we'll talk about to really repay this and some different ways that you can look at it. But looking on the asset side, you're looking at bank accounts, you're looking at checking accounts. What exactly do you have for income? Do you have a side hustle? Is there dividends that are being paid? Anything that you're getting in for income. Then on the other side, you're looking at credit cards, student loan debt, anything that is negative balances that can be taken around, or the monthly liabilities you have to take into account. Now, this is where you're going to really take your accounting skills, if you do have them, and go through and see what needs to be updated, what can be eliminated, where you can cut. This is going to be really paring down, whether that is cutting subscriptions, looking for things cheaper, really deciding with those expenses that you see listed right there, how are you going to get rid of some of those and how are you going to clean out some of those to really get rid of. You're looking at bills. What can you get lower? Cell phone bills, can you get it lower? Insurance bills, can you get them less? Going to make a big difference. Number 2, we get into setting your goals. This is going to be both short-term and long-term goals, depending on what you want to do. So in the short term, it might be the debt repayment. Long-term, it might be retirement. It might be investing. Having 2 really set time frame of goals, you could set your short-term goal and be very specific. A lot of people use that SMART acronym, being very specific, which of course we know is the first S, meaning that if you want to pay off debt, don't just make the goal of paying off debt for your short-term goal. I want to pay back X amount, let's say $12,000 of debt within the next 12 months. So I need $1,000 a month to actually repay that debt. Very specific, very timely with those SMART goals, making sure also that they are achievable. That's one part that a lot of people, really miss. Saying if you want to eliminate all of your debt and you have $50,000 in debt and you make $50,000 a year, probably not going to happen because you do have your monthly expenses to cover. So making sure again that you're setting them very, very specific within a time frame so you can hold yourself accountable. That way, when you go back and you check in on a weekly or a monthly basis, you can see the progression you made. And honestly, like a giant snowball, when you start making progression financially, it is going to catch fire. You're going to see yourself cutting a lot of expenses, cutting a lot of the impulse spending, cutting a lot of the purchases that you used to make and a lot of the bills that you used to have to really expedite that program and get that snowball really going down the hill and taking it out. Number 3, we look at organizing the bills. That is right. This is where you have to organize them. And how do you do this? Making sure that you know exactly what you owe and exactly at what rate. This is huge. A lot of people don't know. When you say, okay, I have 5 credit cards, what are the rates on the 5 credit cards? I don't know. I have an auto loan. What's your rate on the auto loan? I don't know. What's the rate on the mortgage? I don't know. Majority of people have no idea what they're paying, how much they're paying, where they're paying it to. A lot of times when you get an auto loan, it's set up on automatic payments. As long as I have X amount of dollars in an account, I know the money is going and that is it. So a lot of people, again, if they take a loan out for, let's say 60 months, they're going to make 60 payments to pay off that loan, meaning that you paid the most interest that you could possibly pay over the longest period of time that you could possibly pay. Doesn't make sense when you have the ability to pay it off a little bit earlier. If you're putting extra money towards the principal, paying it off, freeing up some income, and being able to actually keep more of the income because it's not all going out to payments. Now for this, guys, again, you're going to use spreadsheets. You could go in Excel. You could use bill payment trackers. You could use checklists. There's personal finance apps. You can create your own system that works for you on how exactly you're going to create this. Now, in addition, reminders are huge. You want to make sure not only the automated process to pay your bills, making sure they're all on time, because if you have late bills, of course, that is going to have a huge negative impact on your credit. Making sure that everything is on time, and also setting aside time to go ahead and make sure that you're following this, and make sure that you're kind of checking in with yourself and seeing exactly where you're at. Then, of course, with the technology going full auto, putting all of these bills on minimum payments at least, meaning that you're going to focus on a couple debts that are on your list at a time. Everything else is going to be automatic paid with that minimum payment, and making sure that you do not miss any of those bills. Number 4, we get into creating the budget. This is one of my favorite. For me personally, I use the zero-based budgeting. It is really the way that has always worked for me. So I actually take my account and take my budget down to a zero every single month by the allocation of different buckets. So what I mean by this is, if we have a bucket up here that is my income, and let's say, for instance, we have $5,000 in that bucket, then we have all of the expenses. Let's say those expenses come out to $3,000, leaving me an extra $2,000 for the month. That $2,000 is going to be allocated within those buckets. It could be an investing bucket. It could be putting more money into an HSA, could be putting more money into a brokerage account. Those buckets and those dollars that are left over after my income minus my expenses, whatever is left, is going to be allocated into different buckets. It might be a bucket that is set for vacation, a bucket that is set for date night with my wife. Regardless of what it is, you are going to take that budget every single month to an absolute zero, meaning that more money is going to be allocated. And essentially, you're playing a game almost of levers or buckets, where you can fill one a little bit more, fill one a little bit less, and creating really a spending plan that works for you based on the money that you have left over. But the trick is, the more income you have and the more income that you get, how much of it do you actually get to keep? So if I'm getting $5,000 a month and I have $4,800 coming out, that leaves a very, very small $200 wiggle room to fill any of those extra buckets. Now, if I start taking that $200, snowballing it into debt repayment, I eliminate 1, 2, possibly even 3 debts over the next couple months. Now I have $5,000. My debt repayment might be at $4,000 because I eliminated 3 payments, giving me more in that bucket so I can actually allocate to a couple different things. Making sure you budget, super exciting and super really reliant. Once you do it once or twice, it gets easier. And trust me, once you start getting into a cycle, you'll realize really fast that a majority of the bills are set. When you look at car payments, when you look at rent, when you look at insurance, a majority of the bills within that need category is really set. It is the variation of the wants that you can kind of play with, again, with those levers or buckets to really get them out. Number 5, set up a plan to pay your debt back. That is right. I do not see this from almost everybody that I do financial counseling with. They might take a loan out for $10,000. How do you plan to pay that back? Well, I'm going to make the minimum payment for the next 6 years. It's going to be paid off in six years. That is not the way to do it. Like I said, if you're taking a loan out for 5 or 6 years and you're paying it over 5 or 6 years, the payments are being made on time. However, you are paying the highest interest that you can possible by keeping it out the entire term. The elimination of debt is going to give you the power and really the debt-free journey to have the ability to live a debt-free life, which again, a lot of people really do not think that is possible at all. Creating a system to not only repay debt, but eliminate debt while not taking on new debt will give the ability to, 1, save money building up that emergency fund, but it will also give you the power to invest and do things that you want to in life. If you want to travel, it'll give you the funds to do that. If you want to plan for college education for your kids, if you want to plan for anything in your life, you are going to have the ability through the budgeting method to make that happen, which is super excited. Number 6, and the final one, tracking your expenses. Now that you've kind of went through, you made the budget, we figured out exactly how you're going to spend them. How can you keep it from happening again? This is the cycle that I always see that really just churns. We eliminate debt, we get rid of the debt. 3 years later, we do debt consolidation loans. Exactly that. You rack up the debt within the next couple of years. You do a consolidation loan or a home equity loan. Next couple of years, you're doing the exact same thing. This is years and years, even decades of overspending, not tracking your expenses or not cutting them to the point that you're not running in the red. Essentially, the way that it's looked at is you're supplementing your income with debt. You're taking out debt in a home equity, you're taking out debt in the form of credit cards. You are supplementing the income because you're not bringing home enough or you're not managing it properly, honestly. And really supplementing what you're buying with the credit card. And not only are you going ahead and doing that and supplementing the income with credit card debt, but in addition, you're paying interest on the money that you're using, which of course is to cover past previous or past purchases that you made, meaning that it is not even something that you're benefiting from now, but something that you had long ago that you're still paying on. All right, guys, so 6 very, very basic, very easy ways to organize your finance. But that'll do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching.